order the Oconee County PRT Commission meeting today. I'd like to welcome our guests and those online. If you would, just for our opening purposes, I'm Shane Smith. I'm acting as the chairman of this commission. I'd like to ask each of our members to just introduce themselves real quick. We'll start with Ken and work around this way.
Ken Sloan, visit Oconee, South Carolina.
Alex Butterwell with Kiwi Brewing Company.
Kevin Evans, Dells Fork State Park.
Greg Kutu.
Thank you. All right. I hope everyone has had a chance to review the minutes that were sent out earlier. We do have a small amendment that each of the members has been made aware of. So I would like y'all to just, after you've reviewed them, I'll accept a motion to approve or any discussion we have.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor to approve?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And Phil, am I going to pass the treasurer's report off to you?
Sure. In your packet, I provided you a treasurer's report, and you should be able to follow that with the encumbered amounts showing the balance as of July 31st, all the encumbrances that's been approved and still pending, and then the available balance of $260,589.93. That's in your local accommodations tax side that we use for the grant purposes. I'll point out to you, as you all know, we've been working with host compliance to better identify and bring into compliance our short-term rental providers. And you'll notice from the FY19, the monthly average, the jump that you see from 26,019 up to 38,000 through FY20. The total for FY20 was up 43% over FY19. So it's working, and we're taking, now that the ordinances are in place, we'll be working with our county attorney and finance staff. And we still have a number of non-compliant folks that just haven't responded. So there will be a couple of letters that will continue to go out until we get down to the point where we have to actually make some phone calls in terms of compliance. So that's your treasurer's report on the local side. We're in really good shape. And then on the state side, you can follow and see where it's only showing $10,000 available, but that we have paid out everything for FY20. So we had everything come in. We were a little nervous with the spring and how that was going to play out, but that fourth quarter check was good enough to cover everything that we anticipated for it. And so we do have a $10,000 rollover, and then that will continue to build through the next 4 quarters for FY21's dollars. Any questions on your treasurer's report? All right, I will move on into grant applications, and so we have 7 applications for this cycle. You have about 55,000 in total requests. There are right at 50,290 in eligible requests, and you have up to $40,000 this cycle. So because we've got a good number in there, we're going to bump it up to $40,000. I typically like to do that when we have over 200 available in that account. So you were able to do a big majority of what's been asked this month or this cycle. So I'm excited about that. So we'll just start rolling through these requests. Here are the 7 requests in front of you. And I'll start with the Museum of the Cherokee in South Carolina. This is a request from the Museum of Cherokee. The total request is $8,088. They're looking to build a research room there at the museum that people would use to be able to come in and do research about the southeastern Native American history and culture. This will be a completely new room. I've included in your packet their tourism percentage. About 50% of their visitors over the last year have been visitors. Their attendance has been visitors. The total project budget for this is almost $12,000. So when you put all that together, they're eligible for $59.42. So that's their eligible amount for the research room at the Museum of the Cherokee. Any questions pertaining to that particular grant request? And you guys have the grant too, if you have any questions about the application. Hearing none, I'll go to the next one. This is Discover Upcountry South Carolina. They've been as I share with you each time, they're a great partner of ours. They provide a number of leads through to Visit Oconee and to Ken. This is a $10,000 request. You can see the advertising campaign and the different marketing pieces that they'll utilize those funds for. $7,500 will go towards print media, and then $2,500 would go towards social media advertising, which we're seeing a bigger uptick in people pushing and boosting and things like that from a social media standpoint. It's very financially feasible, and people are getting a good return on it. So because of their numbers, because of the amount of their marketing budget, the amount of the people that they touch, they are eligible for the entire amount. And you can see there what you've funded over the previous 2 years, the 4 cycles. Any particular questions on that application from Discover Upcountry? Okay, go to the next one. The Walhalla Oktoberfest Committee, this is a $7,000 request specifically to be used for TV and print advertising, as well as a little bit of social media. They are still working through. They have received their, I was talking to one of the committee members before this meeting, they have received their exemption from the state to hold the festival this year. And so they're working through that, and they're now deciding as a committee what's the best option for them. So whatever we approve for this year, and we've done this for a number of applicants on festivals, if something changes, they have 2 years to spend this money. So they can take this money and just push it to next year. So if we approve something and something gets canceled last minute, we give them the option to pay it back and apply again next year, or just use those funds for next year. And we'll keep up with that in their grant folder. So based on everything that their attendance, their participation, their total advertising budget, they are eligible for the full $7,000. Any questions about the Oktoberfest? And this is the 42nd year.
Yeah, just a quick question. If they hold on to it for the next year, does that make them ineligible for applying the next year?
What we've told, we've had a couple people that when we give them that option, you can give it back, and you can take a chance of coming back before the commission next year and see if you get more. It could be that you get less, or you can keep that money and you would not apply again next year.
Okay.
So that would be your funds for next year. You wouldn't come back and apply for more.
Right.
Because you still fall into the same percentage categories for that specific festival.
Gotcha.
Any other questions on Oktoberfest?
When do they have to make a decision on that?
I do believe that they're working through that like this week.
I was gonna say, because if they're advertising, they gotta get on it
Yep.
sooner rather than later, I assume. Okay.
Okay, the next one is for the city of Walhalla. If you're familiar with the city of Walhalla, they actually started and began participating in Main Street USA this last year and hired Libby Embody as an employee of the city. Due to that, they're now working to create their own marketing and strategic plan and how they market Walhalla. This will be a request of $9,210 to create that strategic targeted marketing campaign for print, digital, and video advertising. The total marketing budget you can see there is $14,000. Because we have an unknown, and I talked with Administrator Brent Taylor this week, typically we like to have a pretty valid number on what the percentages are of the visitors to the city. But because this is brand new and we haven't collected that data, it's an unknown. But when you look at places like Performing Arts Center, the Stumphouse Mountain Bike Park, those numbers are 70-80% of the visitors are tourists. And then you've got downtown, you're probably in the 30, 40, maybe 50% range. So we both decided that 50% was a good starting number. And so that's what we used to get their eligible amount for this first cycle, hoping that they'll begin collecting some more data as this moves forward. So based on that total marketing budget and the 50% impact, they're eligible for $7,255 of their request. Any specific questions for City of Walhalla?
Where, it says section D, as far as where you plan on advertising, they have the brochures, billboards, brochures, I'm assuming, would go to like the welcome centers
Correct.
and all, where, the billboards, would they be on 85? Would they be?
The locations are actually in there,
Yeah, next page.
because I called her and I said I needed at least list those. They were trying to capture the traffic. I believe one of them,
It's those.
Maybe it's
Highway 28 and 88, and then one of them is I-85 Livonia, and then the other one is Highway 28 and 107. So they're trying to capture the incoming, coming into the state traffic. Any other questions on City of Walhalla? Okay. The next one is Foothills Farmstead. As they begin their opening process, they're wanting for the public to be able to be a part of the building of the farmstead. They want to make that part of the interpretation of the location. So as they do that, they have a large number of things that need to be stored as part of that process. And the original request was to rent some storage containers for that. I didn't like that idea because it was just a rent scenario. And after talking to them, he said we could use them long-term. If we have a partial ATAX grant to buy them, then we could buy them, have them on site, and then we could use them long-term. So that was a better fit for the guidelines for it to meet the criteria for accommodations tax. So based on the total project cost and the fact that they're putting up the rest of the money, they are eligible for the full $2,300 that they're asking for those containers. They would store things in there for the construction of the farmhouse. So as those things come in, they don't have anywhere out there, it's just open air. It's not, secured 24 hours a day, so this would give them a place to do that. And they would have those containers once it's open to be able to store some things in. So it does meet their criteria, and that's what their eligibility is for this project. Any specific questions on that? Okay. City of Seneca Half Marathon. This is a request that we see each year. They had 700 participants this year. This is a $10,000 request for Fox 21 and social media. They had it this year, even through the pandemic. They were able to social distance and spread everybody out. I want to say they started people like every 25 seconds. And so you were in different pods and separated. They were one of the few events that kind of got to happen before things really shut down. But this is a request for $10,000. You can see their total budget, total marketing budget, the amount of the attendees who are tourists, and their eligibility on is the full $10,000. Any questions on the half marathon? Okay. Devil's Fork State Park, picnic pad rehab. This is a grant to rebuild a number of the picnic pads, and I tried to go through and pull the amount of visitors that come through the park. It's always our busiest location. The state park, it continues to be our largest single contributor to ATAX. And going through the application, I noticed a good bit of growth from last year to this year, even in your overnight stays. So because of the 90% tourism impact that their numbers show, they're eligible for $7,793 of the 8659 request.
You guys been busy up there? Just a little bit?
Any questions specifically for the picnic pad rehabilitation project? Okay. Any overall questions? So $40,000 available. You have 7 requests. If you add all that up, it's a little over $50,000. Probably the easiest cycle we've had in a good while.
Yeah.
When you look at the number available versus what's eligible. So next week, we'll work our way through that list and be able to make those recommendations. If there's no other questions, I'll keep going.
Please do.
Okay. So I have 5 projects for you today to consider internally. I'll start with the Jocassee Kiwi Visitor Center signage. We have partnered with Visit Oconee and Lake Jocassee Real Estate. They're on Highway 11 to put in a visitors center in their lobby. And we've got, right now, we have an intern that's running it. And they also have on site, that's where Brooks and Kay's office is at with Jocassee Lake Tours. And so they're handling walk-in traffic from a visitor center standpoint. So we reached out and did an encroachment permit with SCDOT to put up the brown signs that would label that as a visitor center. That's been approved. This is a request to buy those brown signs, have them printed. They'll match what we've done across the rest of the county, and it will be called Jocassee Kiwi Visitor Center. They'll be placed, and I forget the exact footage that's on the encroachment permit, before and after Boone Trail, right there at that intersection. This is a request for the manufacturing of those signs, and then Oconee County will install them.
We want to just take these one at a time and go ahead and vote on them?
Yeah, that's the easiest.
Okay.
Any questions on that particular project?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This would just be for Oconee County, because Kiwi Totsaway State Park is labeled as the Jocassee Gorges Visitor Center,
Right.
along with DNR. So
Yeah.
I'm just, to avoid any confusion, this would be just for, like, a visitor center for just Oconee County, or?
That's the main items that are in there. Because it's so close to the line, they're gonna also promote the things that are in that area along Highway 11. But I think the majority of the material that's in that visitor center is Oconee County.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion and a second to move this forward?
I'll make a motion to approve the visitor center signage.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
It's a good spot there.
Okay. The next three are maintenance items for us. The first one is High Falls Bathhouse. I'm sorry, that says bathhouse renovation. That should be building renovation. That's my fault. We have a
High
need.
Falls has building.
Yeah, they do. But it's not a bathhouse.
But that's what I'm saying, item number 2.
Yeah, ours says
You
building.
do have it as building renovation.
Oh, so I have an old one then.
Yeah.
I didn't change, I didn't get the new
On
one.
this, it says bathhouse up there, so.
Sorry. I didn't put the new one in here. High Falls building renovations, we have a need for a new roof on one of our buildings. And as we go through our capital side through the county, there's always things that they say, hey, that fits ATAX, try to push it through ATAX side first. So this is a request to replace the roof on our maintenance shop, not to exceed $9,000. That is an up-to number. They're actually on site today giving us the final estimate. I don't anticipate it being that high, but for the budget aspect of it, I wanted to make sure that we covered it completely. I expect it to be more around the $5,000 or $6,000 range. But that's a request to replace the roof at High Falls Maintenance Shop.
Is that shingled or?
Shingle, yes, sir.
I make a motion, we approve this.
Second it.
All right, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next one is the bathhouse, South Cove Bathhouse renovation. This is our, out on the campground, we have a need to replace all of our restroom partitions that are in our bathhouse out there. They get a ton of usage throughout the years. It's always wet in there, and so this particular bathhouse is about 14 years old, and so those partitions have worn down over the years. And so this is a request to replace both the men's and women's side of the toilet partitions in those units. And those are, if you've ever built bathrooms, that's one of the most expensive things in there is those toilet partitions. So, any questions on that?
All right, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Very good, thank you. Item number 4, we host a number of fishing tournaments and other events that operate out of the fishing pier area at South Cove. Typically, we would ask whoever's the event's rights holder to bring or provide their own generator. That becomes a little bit of a loud noise issue during the day whenever they're having to keep things running. And so we reached out and got a quote to go to our nearest electrical and to pull a new pedestal and run the lines all down there so that we've got a hookup for any trailer that would come in for a fishing tournament or any kind of festival or anything that we would host in that area. So this is a request to contract out up to $6,000 to be able to run a new electrical pedestal down to that location.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Either way.
Kevin?
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
And the last one, we have talked for years about, our parks and the speed limit. We've put speed bumps, we've taken speed bumps out, we've changed from narrow speed bumps to large speed bumps to see what works. At the end of the day, there's still a number of straightaways through our park system that people cannot stay or have trouble staying at our 10 and 15 mile an hour limit. What we are proposing is that we purchase a mobile radar device that you see on the side of the road. It actually is on wheels, and all it's going to do is show you your speed and the speed limit sign. And that will allow not only our cars, but we also have a number of infractions and violations from golf carts that move throughout the park. So this will just show them what the speed limit is on that location, their speed, in an effort to slow them down moving through the park. Our main concern is safety. We have a ton of kids that ride their bikes through the park. We do allow golf carts, and so having those things operate together safely, we thought this would be a good move. It can be shared among the 3 parks, as well as if we have events, fishing tournaments on Lake Hartwell, that can be put down there on the Seneca Creek Road when we need to. So it's a very, very versatile piece of equipment for us. So this is a request for up to $4,000 to buy that mobile radar speed device.
Questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve up to 4,000 for mobile radar.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Very good, thank you all. So I wanted to give you a capital projects update and where we are. We've had a very busy year from a capital standpoint. We have final inspections next week for the new Charram office and building. You all will be getting an invitation. We're going to do a little short ribbon cutting on Friday, September the 4th at 10 a.m. That's the Labor Day weekend. That'll be our grand opening weekend for that building. And it's a great asset for us. We actually built a new parking lot. Our Roads and Bridges team were able to add about 55 more parking spaces in that park. And if you're familiar with Charram, we typically turn away anywhere from 150 to 250 cars on a weekend just because of the parking issue. This will give us another 50 cars at a time capacity to be able to operate throughout the day. So that final inspection is next week. That is a new ADA restroom, a new office for the staff, as well as a new retail operation for the park that they've never had. So very excited about getting that online. Been over there all morning with the water guys, the electrical crew, and as well as our IT staff, trying to get some things hooked up. So you'll be seeing that invitation come soon. Along the same lines, we were able to, this past year, replace our, we call it the patio deck in our system, which is the building that's closest to the shore at High Falls. It was original to when the lake was built, and it just needed to be replaced. So we've been able to go in there and add a ADA restroom for men and women, as well as replace the rental pavilion that's there along the lake. And we've added a concession station in that building. So instead of them having to come up to the office of the White House at High Falls, we'll have a lakefront concession area during the summer that you could actually, if you wanted to pull your boat up, you could pull your boat up and get concessions. But we'll also run our mini golf, our putt-putt and everything right out of that building instead of having to go to the main office to get your clubs and your mini golf balls and things like that. So that is scheduled for next week. Seneca Creek is a project we've been working through. We have finished the plans for Seneca Creek. They are now in the hands of the Corps of Engineers and Clemson University as the review process. Spoke with the Corps this week, and we have filled out our initial encroachment permit for the driveway through DOT. We've also filled out our initial permit for the boat ramps through their regulatory department, and have met with Clemson University on site with no negative review at this point. So we anticipate that to move forward, and we will be presenting that to council committee this fall for a phase one proposal. And we hope to be able to get that project started over the next 6 to 12 months. So we're very excited about that. That will, along Seneca Creek Road, that will open up that entire area. We've got 50 boat parking spaces that'll be part of phase one. And we're actually moving the ramp from its existing location over to the point so that we got more usage during drought time. So right now, Hartwell's at full pool. When it gets down about 6-7 feet, that ramp's out of use. So we're moving it over so that we've got about 10 or 12 foot of usage as the water fluctuates. So very excited about that project. From an update standpoint, that's our capital projects list. I will tell you, we, along with state parks and everybody else, we really struggled through the spring. We worked hard to keep everybody safe, to get back open as early as we could and feel like we could keep everybody safe. We opened our campgrounds back June the 15th. June numbers this year versus last year, we were only down about 20%, only open 15 days. Our July was our second biggest on record ever. We as a park system did over $100,000 in July. That's tremendous for us. We've only done it one other time since I've been here. So August is trending even higher than that. So people are wanting to get out. They're choosing those options that they can get outdoors and have fun. So we are wide open and, learning to operate with mask and hand sanitizer and cleaning on a regular basis. So any specific questions for me from an update or a park operations or county projects? All right. So with that said, next Thursday, back here at noon, we've got $40,000, a little over $50,000 in request, and we will put those into motion for recommendations to county council. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Outstanding. We'll hope to see everyone back next Thursday at 12. Please make every effort to attend so we get it taken care of. We'll consider ourselves adjourned. Thank you.